Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. So in this video we're going to look more closely into arrays. More specifically we will be looking into how we can use for loop to fill an array and or display the contents of an array. Even we can use a for loop to modify the array that we have. So imagine here is a simple array that has 5 elements. Here are the indices 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and here are some values. So we're going to actually construct this array in a couple different approaches, kind of like a follow-up to the previous video. So let's do that. So our first approach to fill the array, so it's actually approach 1. Remember this is an integer array, so the data type is an integer, square bracket, let's call it nums first, and then essentially what's going to happen is I'll fill these values. So imagine these values are known in advance, and this is actually the way where you're going to use the more like kind of like traditional approach for arrays. So it's going to be 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. This way we filled our arrays. And kind of like a recap, if I want to display nums first at index 0, obviously it should be 1 in this case. But remember, the values inside of an array are immutable, so you can change them. So now if I say nums first at index 0 is going to be, let's say, 55, and then I just, paste this line again, you're going to see the old value and then the new value. Now, essentially, at this point, we no longer keep track of the old one. From this point on, this is pretty much just like 55, and for the rest of the program, we no longer have any track of the old value 1. It's just going to be 55 from this point on. Okay, so this is the first approach, but again, normally you're not going to start a program knowing the values you're going to put in an array. So this way is not going to really be the best way to do things. So we need the other approach that I showed you in the other video. So let's say now these values are gonna come from the user. Okay, so because they're gonna come from the user, we need a scanner. So scanner in equal new scanner system.in. Now obviously we need to import the scanner if you don't have it already, otherwise you're gonna get an error obviously. So now here is what we're gonna do. We know these values are just gonna be, sort of like again with the index. So a good way to do it is, we're gonna have a for loop. The for loop is gonna start with 0, go all the way up to 4, and then inside of the for loop, we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna ask the user to enter a value, and then we're gonna store the value in the corresponding element inside of the array. So I will define my array. So it's just going to be int nums second. Now notice this is only kind of like declaration, and we haven't really so far put any value. So we're going to fill the array now inside of a for loop. So we're going to have int I is 0, I is less than or equal to 4. In this case, 0 through 4, I plus plus. So as out, please enter a value. Now, here's what's going to happen. So we define in, it's going to be next int. The reason we do next int, remember, is this array is actually an integer array. Remember, the values, they have to be all of the same data type. So now, as we take this integer from the user, so the user would do something like, in this case, like 1 at the very first value. Where are we going to store it? We're going to store it in nums second, and then the index is going to be 0, which is in this case I0. And then the next one is going to be nums second 1, nums second 2, 3, and 4. So it's just going to be nums second, index I, put that value that you read, nums in the next int second thing. So we're getting an error. The local variable num second may not have been initialized. So in this case, what's going to happen is it's giving us uh, an error because see what we have done so far is we said this is an array, but we didn't really declare the size of the array. So a way to fix it is just going to be new int. This is going to be of size 5, right? So it's just going to be 5. So notice it's going to be declaration now plus initialization because from the last video, if you recall, as you declare an integer array, all the cells are going to start with the initial value of 0. So now I'm taking the user input now, and then I'm actually storing that in the index I. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's run the program, see what happens. So let me first of all actually comment these because I don't need them. So enter value 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. And our program stops here. So this is, we're assuming that the program has taken the values, put them in num's second array. Well, how do we know if we did things correctly? So we need to actually display the array. Displaying the array is just going to be exactly similar to this one. Rather than putting the values, we're just going to display the elements. So I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm just going to do sout because I'm only displaying things. It's going to be num's second index I. So now do this again. 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. And there you go. 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. If you want to be like more, you know, like take a little bit of your time and make it like more or better displayed, what you can do is nums, so kind of like a string, second, and then this is going to be plus I plus so this way it's actually kind of like showing each cell. In this case it's really simple because we only have like 5 elements, but when the array grows more and more, it's a good idea to just like display it more, you know, like display it a little better. So it's going to be 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. And notice now this is kind of like what it changes because this is a string. It's going to be displayed as is. The only difference is the I, and I goes from 0 to 4, and actually there you go how we can do that. So this is now we display the array. If you want, you can do even other things. So now let's actually, like, imagine these are grades, and then I want to give every student an additional 5 points. How would I do that? So first of all, let's just add like little separator so we know, like, as we run the program later on. So like modify the array, and it's just going to be, again, the for loop is not going to change. So now I will take nums second I will actually, let's say, add 5 points to each one, and then as I add the 5, I'm going to store it exactly in the same nums second of I. So it's just going to be nums second I is just going to be equal to old value of num second I plus 5, store it in num second I. Okay, and now if I want to display the array, it's just going to be exactly copy paste. So display, no changes. So let's do this again. 1, 3, 8, 23, 99. So now we get the old array, and then here we made the modification. We put the separator, and then notice each array cell had an additional 5 added to it. Okay, so notice it was an integer, we added 5, it also is an integer too, so we didn't change the data type. And remember, the values are mutable, meaning you can change them any way you want. So you can actually, change them on and on and on without a problem, as long as you keep the data type the same. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What you need to know for the homework that I'm gonna be posting shortly. Okay, thank you guys and have a good day.